In a world where history is constantly rewritten, an intriguing question arises. What did Jesus really believe about the afterlife? Ancient texts that have been banned and forgotten reveal an astonishing insight that challenges everything we know. Imagine a Jesus who not only spoke about resurrection but also about reincarnation. Yes, you heard right. The Gospel of Thomas, a manuscript that the Church preferred to hide, suggests that the human soul goes through several lives until it reaches unity with God. Why was this idea suppressed? What is being hidden? The Church, over the centuries, has focused on rituals that ensure control over salvation. But what if Jesus had left clues about a much more personal and profound path? A spiritual journey that does not depend on institutions, but on the choices of each one of us? As you reflect on the possibility of multiple lives, think about how it would change our understanding of the kingdom of God. Was Jesus' message much broader than what official doctrine taught us? Prepare to delve into hidden mysteries and surprising revelations that could transform everything you know. Apocryphal texts, such as the Gospel of Thomas, provide an intriguing perspective on the teachings of Jesus. Unlike the canonical Gospels, which are widely accepted by the Christian tradition, these writings present a vision that suggests the idea of reincarnation. In it, some passages talk about the search for self-knowledge and spiritual evolution, concepts that align with the idea of multiple lives. This raises the question, did Jesus really talk about reincarnation? As we explore these texts, we notice that they offer an interpretation of Jesus' words that differs from the conventional narrative. While the canonical Gospels speak of salvation in a single time, the Apocrypha seem to suggest that the spiritual journey is continuous. This notion of learning and growth over multiple lifetimes is a powerful idea that resonates with many who seek deeper meaning in life. Furthermore, this perspective may have been rejected by religious leaders who preferred a dogma that maintained control over the faithful. The idea of reincarnation could incite questioning and the search for a more personal understanding of God, something that religious institutions often try to avoid. Therefore, the analysis of these apocryphal texts is not only a question of history, but also of power and control. Apocryphal texts also propose a more inclusive view of God and spirituality. Instead of a punitive God who judges only one life, there is the proposal of a God who offers continuous opportunities for learning and evolution. This idea contrasts sharply with the traditional view of Christianity, which emphasizes a single life and a final judgment. Analysis of the Gospel of Thomas and other apocryphal texts can open doors to a broader understanding of what Jesus taught. The possibility that he spoke about reincarnation invites us to rethink our own spiritual paths and to see life as a journey in constant transformation. When we look at Eastern traditions such as Hinduism and Buddhism, we see that reincarnation is a central concept. In these religions, the idea of multiple lives is fundamental to understanding spiritual evolution. Life is seen as a series of experiences that help the soul improve itself and achieve enlightenment. This raises a curiosity. Did Jesus also have a similar vision? The similarities between Jesus' message and the principles of Eastern traditions are striking. In several passages, Jesus talks about the importance of love, forgiveness, and personal transformation. These values resonate with the idea that each life is a learning opportunity. Thus, reincarnation could be a way in which Jesus taught about spiritual evolution, even if implicitly. Another interesting point is how these traditions view the cycle of birth and death. In Hinduism, for example, the soul goes through several lives until it reaches moksha, or liberation. This contrasts with the traditional Christian view of a single destiny after death. Jesus' proposal about reincarnation could have deepened this conversation, offering a new perspective on life and death. The comparison between religious traditions also reveals how reincarnation can be a tool for spiritual liberation. For many, the idea that our actions in past lives influence our present is an encouragement to act with more love and compassion. This could align with the teachings of Jesus in a deeper way than simple rule-keeping. Thus, reincarnation in Eastern religious traditions not only challenges conventional Christian views, but also invites us to reflect on the messages of Jesus. The possibility that he believed in multiple lives could enrich our understanding of spirituality and the human journey. The elimination of reincarnation by church leaders is a topic that deserves attention. This suppression appears not only to be a theological issue, but also a strategic move to centralize power over the faithful. By removing the idea of multiple lives, leaders could strengthen their position by creating a narrative that emphasized the need to follow the Church's rituals and doctrines to ensure salvation. When reincarnation was discarded, the emphasis became on the single life and the eternal consequences of actions in this life. This generated a climate of fear and control. The faithful were led to believe that their actions carried much greater weight, which facilitated manipulation by religious institutions. This approach not only served to control behaviors, but also limited freedom of thought and personal spiritual quest. Furthermore, the suppression of reincarnation prevents individuals from seeing life as an opportunity for continuous learning. Instead, an emphasis on immediate salvation can lead to moral behavior based on fear rather than love or compassion. This dynamic can have profound consequences for the way people relate to spirituality and to others. It is worth noting that this suppression is not an isolated phenomenon. Throughout history, many doctrines have been shaped and adapted to maintain religious authority. Reincarnation, as a concept, could have challenged not only beliefs but also the established power structure. This raises questions about the true intention behind the elimination of certain teachings. The investigation into how reincarnation was suppressed reveals a complex interplay between faith, power, and control. By understanding this dynamic, we can begin to question the narratives we have been presented with and seek a more authentic understanding of the spiritual message of Jesus and other traditions. The concept of being reborn in Jesus' words is intriguing and can be interpreted in different ways. The idea of rebirth, which is present in some passages in the Gospels, can be seen as an allusion to reincarnation rather than simply a resurrection. When Jesus talks about being born again, he suggests a process of transformation and renewal that goes beyond the physical. This interpretation can open space for a broader understanding of spirituality. Many believe that this rebirth is not limited to a single life, but rather to multiple opportunities for learning and evolution. Each life would be a chance for spiritual growth, where accumulated experiences shape the soul. Thus, rebirth becomes a continuous cycle, allowing each person to seek to better understand their essence. Furthermore, this view of rebirth can also offer a more inclusive perspective on salvation. Rather than an isolated event, salvation becomes a journey, where each individual has the power to shape their spiritual destiny. This is in stark contrast to the traditional idea of salvation, which is often seen as a single defining moment. With this new interpretation, Jesus' words can be understood as an invitation to reflection and self-knowledge. He would be encouraging people to look inside themselves, seeking to understand the lessons that life has to offer. Rebirth, in this context, becomes an opportunity to reevaluate values and actions. This reading of rebirth can alleviate fears related to death and the unknown. Rather than seeing death as an absolute end, belief in reincarnation suggests that it is merely a transitional phase. Thus, life becomes a laboratory of experiments where each rebirth brings new chances for evolution. Belief in reincarnation can have a profound impact on how we understand the kingdom of God. If we consider that each person is on an ongoing spiritual journey, the idea of an eternal kingdom becomes more accessible. Instead of a fixed and distant place, the kingdom of God could be seen as a state of consciousness that is achieved through multiple lives. With this perspective, Jesus' messages about the kingdom become a guide for the evolution of human beings. He would be speaking not just of a destiny after death, but of a state of being that can be achieved during life. This emphasizes the importance of the actions and choices we make, as they have a direct impact on our spiritual journey. Salvation, then, would not be an event that occurs in a single moment, but a continuous process of growth and learning. Each life would be an opportunity to approach this kingdom, allowing people to seek true inner transformation. This view encourages a more active and conscious spiritual practice. Furthermore, this new understanding of the kingdom of God could promote greater empathy between people. By recognizing that we are all at different stages of evolution, it would be easier to understand and accept other people's difficulties. This solidarity could create more united and spiritually enriching communities. This belief could help deconstruct rigid dogmas that often keep people away from genuine spirituality. Instead of feeling trapped by rules, they could free themselves, seeking the truth in their own experiences, always with an eye towards spiritual growth. The acceptance of reincarnation in Christian theology would bring a revolution in the ways believers understand sin. Currently, the predominant view is that each individual has a single life to redeem or condemn themselves. If reincarnation were accepted, it would mean that sin would not be an isolated event, but part of an ongoing process of learning and spiritual growth. Each life could be seen as a new opportunity to correct mistakes and seek moral evolution. This change could ease the pressure on the faithful, providing a more hopeful perspective on life and its difficulties. In addition to sin, the idea of redemption would also be profoundly affected. Today, redemption is often understood as a divine act that occurs in a single moment, like salvation through Jesus. If reincarnation were accepted, redemption could be seen as a path that spans several lifetimes. This would mean that the search for redemption would not need to be rushed, as each soul would have several chances to be reconciled with God and others. This view would make the concept of redemption more accessible and less intimidating to believers. The nature of the soul would also be questioned. Traditionally, Christian theology views the soul as a single entity, which lives and dies along with the body. With reincarnation, the soul would be seen as something that goes through various experiences and transformations over time. This would change the way people see themselves and how they relate to others. The idea that we are all spiritual travelers at different stages of evolution could create greater empathy between human beings, promoting the idea that we are all learning together. The issue of final judgment would also gain new nuances. Currently, many believe that there will be a time when God will judge all individuals based on their actions in a single lifetime. With reincarnation, judgment could be a more dynamic process, where souls are evaluated throughout their multiple existences. This would imply that the consequences of actions extend beyond earthly life, leading to a more complex understanding of divine justice and mercy. The acceptance of reincarnation in Christian theology could lead to a greater focus on personal and spiritual development. Instead of worrying only about salvation and damnation, believers could be encouraged to work on their inner growth and their relationships with others. This shift in focus could result in more united and supportive communities, where the goal is to help each other on their spiritual journeys, rather than simply seeking conversions or adherence to rigid dogma. And now let's reflect on all this. If Jesus truly believed in reincarnation, what impact would this have on our faith and religious practices? Imagine for a moment that each life we live is a learning opportunity, a step toward our true essence. How would this change the way we view our daily actions and choices? And would the church, with all its structure and power, have an interest in keeping this idea hidden? Could this be a way of controlling people's spirituality, tying them to dogmas and beliefs that limit their freedom to explore their own journey? As you ponder this, don't forget to think about the texts that have been banned throughout history. What else is hidden in the shadows of our sacred books? And what other truths about Jesus and his messages might be lost, waiting to be discovered? Stay with us, as there are always more mysteries to unravel. Leave your opinion in the comments. Do you believe that reincarnation is part of Jesus' message? And if so, how does this transform your view of spirituality? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with more hidden reveals.